hello once again. Here we are as we convene once again for another episode of Caribbean Feedback. Good night, one and all. How you all doing? Take your mic. Karin, put your mic, open up your mic, open up the microphone. There you go. How are you doing this evening?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. You say too good and you ain't smile yet. Well, you say good, and I ain't see you smile yet. That's too good.
She need to throw one more in. Good.
You all right? Are you hearing? Your mic is on.
1 second. I need to correct something. 1 second.
All right. So, well, we can't just stay quiet for the second. I just need to know if you're all right. Women who say they could like to multitask and they could multitask, somehow she can't look at the screen and talk at the same time. She can't chew gum and walk. I know that for a fact.
If you don't want me start cusping that show, yeah. I said 1 second, I correct the problem.
You're coming in like Sam now. Sam just have to take off your glasses to hear you better sometime. I ask you how you're doing and you can't answer how you're doing.
Because my speaker was turned off. I didn't realize that.
Oh, so you wasn't hearing me. Good night, Lucy O'Brien. How are you? Did anybody realize half the year done already?
I'm aware.
It's just the other day we were shouting Happy New Year, wondering if 2022 is going to bring us more blessings than 2021. We talk about forgetting 21 and put it in a closet somewhere, never to be discussed again. And we had
it tonight, and now, just realized that it's with half year.
Half of the year gone already.
Okay.
Entering the third quarter just now. And before you know it, we had to start making plans for the new year. And
again, with something.
Is it that the years get shorter as we get older, or time kind of speeding up? I'm not quite sure what's going on.
I really don't know. I can't tell. I don't know if it's shortening, if it's longer, if it's short, if it's fat, if it's slim.
You say longer. I thought you was going to say longing. Because
you're
coming up with some words, partner. I don't know
where they come from. To be too predictable with these things, you know. So
I see.
But I don't know where it's going. I really don't know. I just, if the wave come big, I ride in it. If it's small, I ride in it. I just ride in the waves, however it reach.
I see Karin just drinking water and minding her business tonight.
Yeah.
So I don't know what happened. Look at that. I sit down here a few minutes ago, unplugged the computer because it was full. The battery. Now I'm sitting here at 30-something%, and we're now starting the show. So I need to mind my business
and plug it in.
And plug it up.
Mind your business and plug it in, brethren.
No.
And we need people to hit the likes.
I plug it in and the light's still not great. It had to be plugged in from the next end too, right? All right, I'm going to take care of the commercial break. I ain't going to do all of the wire pulling and all of that adjustment right now. I have enough to survive. So how things up on your end, Sam?
Well, everything kind of spliff, right now, it's a kind of spliff scene, babies crying, mothers breastfeeding them, some of them getting Similac, Pampers, Huggies.
So basically, everybody's surviving. Or they're getting by. I don't know.
Some people eating chicken, some eating vegan, you know what I mean?
Because
it's just, the situation.
Tonight, we have a lot of things going on in the world. And as an individual, I tend to stay away from politics and things that I've often said it that doesn't really affect me as an individual. Something happening on way across. So I always tend to believe it don't affect me. But tonight, some of the listeners asked for it. Karin say, you know what? Tonight we have to discuss war, disease, famine. How we are all connected. I'm hoping to get some insight on this. I don't know how we connected. But I hope we can speak intelligently about it tonight and shed some light on it, learn some information, each one teach one. And for the people in the chat section, if you all can join in on the conversation, ask some questions, maybe that you need answered, and let's see if we can shed some light on this global situation that's affecting us. So Sam, run the thing. Let me come back and reason.
All right, go run the thing.
My name is Karin Forrester. I represent BantuKreations. BantuKreations offers beautifully made, African-inspired, lightweight, handcrafted, one-of-a-kind earrings in wonderful shapes, shades, sizes, and colors. Please don't be scared of the large sizes. They're extremely lightweight earrings. BantuKreations can be found on IG and on Facebook as BantuKreations. That's BantuKreations with a K.
Come check me out, chriskeys.com. I'm worldwide.
Tony Altamirano.
Hi, I'm Gina.
What's up, everybody? I'm Win Vu, award-winning remixer.
Koya, I'm an artist.
Hi, my name's Justina Bethel.
Hi, I'm Mike Bowen from Denton, Texas.
How you doing? This is Tom Cutt from Music by Tom Cutt. Check out Samuel E. Archer's book, Hybrid Executive. We are in the business, and here's how you can be a better business person because you're running your business.
You can find my music at JustinaBeth_EL on Instagram or JustinaBethel.com, and I am a hybrid executive.
I'm a hybrid executive.
I'm a hybrid executive, just like you.
Follow me at Koya Music, and I'm also a hybrid executive.
I'm worldwide, baby, but just know I'm a hybrid executive. That's all you need to know, baby.
Get on up, beat.
Check out my music, MikeBowen.com. I'm a hybrid executive.
I'm a hybrid executive.
Hi, we are the Henry Boys. I'm Joshua.
I'm Daniel. And I'm Simone.
We're inviting you to read a copy of our father's book, Tiny Little Spider and Nursery Rhyme.
Hey, what do you mean a father's book? This is my book. I'm on the cover. Me, Imani. But let's not forget our sister Imani started writing this book.
And our dad finished it. So get a copy.
For yourself or for your child.
Tiny Little Spider, a nursery rhyme by Curtis B. Henry and Imani Smith. Now available on Amazon.com.
With me, Imani. Spider Boy.
Them fellas have been cracking up in it.
Yes. So we are back. Tonight, we want to talk about, how we call it? War. What is it good for? Disease. Am I being affected? Famine. Does that have anything to do with me? How are we all connected? I can remember a song from my childhood. Something we used to learn in school. We used to sing this in school. In my opinion, this song had a dual purpose. Not only did it teach us about parts of the body, but it also showed us the importance of how one part of the body was dependent upon the other to function properly. This song was about bones. It taught us that the hip bone was connected to the thigh bone, and the thigh bone was connected to the knee bone, and the knee bone was connected to this other bone, and so on and so on and so on. You all remember that? Anybody?
Yeah. That a song back in the days that I used to sing that.
But over the course of our lives, well, my life, from what I've noticed, is that mainstream media has sort of lulled us all to sleep, giving us the impression that what happens on one side of the world has nothing to do with us here in the Western Hemisphere. To be a bit more specific, what happens in Africa has nothing to do with us here in the Americas. While simultaneously it's sort of inundating us with what they seem to be, what they deem to be newsworthy from Europe and from the rest of the world. How many of us on this side of the world here know that earlier this year, the UN estimated that over 200,000 people in Somalia are facing hunger and starvation, where some 800,000 people have been displaced because of droughts and famine, lack of proper medical facilities, and somewhere around 1.5 million children are suffering or facing malnutrition. There are reported cases where mothers have had to travel 400 miles to receive treatment for the sick children affected by war and famine. And for the last few months, we've been hearing about war. We've been hearing about war between Russia and Ukraine, and many of us sort of just sit back and say, well, that don't have nothing to do with us. That's over there.
There are some people over, so yeah.
Yeah. Karin, many people still refer to this Russian-Ukraine war as a white war. Something that's going on, like I said, over there. A war that has nothing to do with us. Tell us, how does this war affect us on a global scale?
Well, there are so many industries affected, but let's focus on certain supplies, food. Prior to 2019, let's just back up a little bit on the biggest producers across the world. We have the US, China, the UK, Brazil, countries like that, big developed countries. But what people don't realize is more than 50% of the wheat production to the world comes out of countries such as Russia and the Ukraine. They're big exporters of grains like corn, barley, wheat, and even fertilizer. And people don't realize that if for some reason there's a problem in one area, as you just stated with the bones and the connections, we're like the whole body in the world. And if there is something that affects one part of the world, although we may not be directly impacted right away, eventually it's coming down the pike to us. People are dependent on Russia, Ukraine, China for food, for resources. And if they can't get to those areas, we will definitely be impacted. Even transportation. Right now we're talking about Russia and Ukraine. Even the transportation that Russia supplies to certain areas, they block the ports to the Ukraine. The farmers in the Ukraine can't work the farms. So these grains that are going out across different countries on the continent of Africa, to Europe, to other areas, to even to the US, can't get out of this country.
So you saying that we in America here are dependent upon grain coming from Ukraine, a country that most of us didn't even know where it was located.
Didn't even know where it was. Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
Part of what you said just now is very interesting, because it sort of answers what I spoke about earlier on, that Ukraine and Russia, I believe you said, supply grain to many African countries.
Yes, they do.
So the question once again, is it still a white war?
It is not a white war. It's not a white war, because it's like a domino effect. And if they can't eat, if they can't get supplies across to various countries, even something as simple as something that I guess we'll touch on a little bit later, even something as simple as computer chips, something as simple as that impacts the entire world, much less a food crisis, which is what this is becoming, because Russia is blocking ports in the Ukraine. So the food, the ships cannot leave. So countries across the continent of Africa, across Europe, countries here, places here in North America will not get certain grains. So you're going to see price increases. You're going to see transportation cost increasing, gas increasing. It impacts every other thing, which is something I don't think we thought of. Even I can admit I didn't realize that there was such a large supplier of basic grain products, barley and corn and wheat. I did not realize there was such a huge supplier.
But what I find interesting in that is we're speaking about Africa. Let's look at sub-Saharan Africa, where it's hot, ideal conditions for growing stuff like wheat, barley. How is it that they are dependent upon a sub-zero temperature country for stuff that can be grown on the continent of Africa? I find that a bit puzzling.
Remember that they have the machinery to work the land, whereas sub-Saharan Africa does not have that level of machinery. They don't have that. Yes, they do produce quite a bit, but they don't have the logistics, the transportation, the communication system to get these things out. So they're not putting out. Their production is nothing compared to Ukraine and Russia.
But I think this somehow have to do with trade agreements that were signed.
Certainly do,
in terms of we provide you with this, so don't grow it yourself. It comes in like here in Florida. I don't know if you know this, Sam, but I cannot plant oranges in my backyard. I can plant them,
true.
But I can tell you if they are discovered from the eye in the sky, they're going to come and chop my trees down and say, oh no, they're diseased, ganga something they have, and they don't want it to spread to the other crops. Mind you, these other crops are hundreds of miles away from where I live, but somehow they're going to come and chop down my orange tree, grind it up, dig out the roots, everything, and tell me, no, it's infected with ganga. Meanwhile, I might be eating these oranges for 5 years before they find out. But that's because oranges are a great export from the state of Florida. Mm-hmm. So for me to grow oranges, I
think you just answered the mysterious questions. Why you have a place like Africa where food can be grown, it's at the right climate, the right environment. So it comes down to the GDP and who has embargoes and who has what trade agreements and the dumb stupidity of saying you can't plant this or grow this. I think even the type of grain you plant there's an issue with that because someone owns a certain version of it. So that's the version that you have to plant. And if America had to do some trade agreement with somewhere in Europe to get grain, because one of the main things here is grain from the US. So it's just interesting that we're talking about grain coming from somewhere else. Because, I mean, the US could kill you in grain.
they do have patterns on these GMOs. Some of these seeds and whatnot, they are patterns.
Right. And
so you now in Trinidad, you can't just take their seed and grow it now as crop to now export to some other country because they now have ownership of this particular grain and you can't just use it. Maybe you could take your inferior, quote unquote, inferior corn, whatever it might be, and plant that, where the locusts and whatever, you will lose a certain percentage of your crop to insects and whatnot. Their own is fortified with certain toxins.
No. I think it's about, we have to look at the word dominance on the various levels. And a certain sector wants to be dominant across the board. Now, some of the different ethnicities that had a little foresight to get themselves out of those claws, they're kind of like the enemy, so to speak. So dominance is really what it is. So not only that they created, they crossed they did all kind of genetically modified food. The seeds had a way that they would spread, and they will spread to places that were using natural seeds, and now it caused the problem there. So when you look at things that don't make sense, a lot of times it's true. It's not making sense because someone created a system that it would go their way. The money has to come this way. That's why we changing brakes every couple of weeks. You had to put on a new pair of brakes on your car. But somehow the brakes, if it's a rear wheel drive, the brakes in the front lasting. If it's a front wheel drive, the brakes in the back lasting. But
so you're constantly caught up in a loop that you have to keep.
You have to buy brakes. You have to buy petroleum. Your alternator would last so long. Your radiator would last so long.
Because I believe I heard Chris Rock said it. If NASA can build a rocket ship to take you to the moon and back, you think GM can make a car where the bumper don't fall off?
They could. But then when you buy that car, that's it. That's just that one sale.
One sale, yeah.
They need you to be making more and more and more.
It's like the drug dealers. They catch you on the comeback.
They need
you to keep coming back. You got to keep coming back to spend the money. But I also believe that this recent hike in gasoline prices and oil prices, it has to have an effect on shipping companies, which in turn may be a good thing for some countries, because if China, let's say, is affected and they reduce shipment or simply dock their ships, wouldn't that or shouldn't that force countries who are dependent on China to look elsewhere for manufacturers or suppliers of certain goods?
It's the same reason why you can't plant orange trees in your backyard. Where are they going to go? Like, if they decide to shut it down, you have to just sit down and wait till they're ready to sell it to you.
No, you don't have to.
Let's touch on what you just said, Curtis. Like before, in 2019, before the pandemic hit the world, right? China was putting out about 28.7% according to statistics of the global manufacturing products, while the US was about just under 17%. But since China and the US have had this trade war issues going on, even before the pandemic hit, even equipment that China depends on from Russia for transportation and moving raw materials around, even that's impacted. So China, although they were the biggest producer or global producer, they're being impacted. So if they're being impacted, other countries that they provide services to are also being impacted. What I've seen is that the major developing countries are doing their best. They're almost doing like a hot coal dance, trying to enact laws individually in their countries to make themselves less dependent on Chinese products. But what I found interesting is that you can enact the law, but it takes time to build up these different companies before you can actually become independent of these other nations. And you can never be fully independent because China has placed itself for the last 2 decades or so in a position where they are the biggest producers of most products globally. We already know they're the biggest producers of rice and certain wheat products as well. But as far as computer products, technology products, they are hands down on top of the mountain looking down on everybody. And because they have the numbers to produce more quickly, they can paralyze the entire world.
Remember too that labor is cheaper there.
Exactly, because they have the numbers.
That was the strategy from the 70s, was to
absolutely
labor is cheap. More people would outsource.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I was replacing a computer about 2 years ago. COVID is in full swing, and the computer I ordered was being delayed because, you know, there's no flights. I'm like, what does that have to do with me getting a computer? But something simple as getting that was affected because it had to come in from somewhere in Asia. You know, so it's already part of it's in the fabric of the economy, right?
What is amazing is that I think, for me anyway, I did not realize. I knew that Russia and China and certain other had really established relationships with other countries. They were allies, so to speak. I did not realize that countries like Ukraine supplies about 50% of the world's neon gas, which is used for the semiconductor chips, the computer chips that go in our cars. 50% of the world's neon gas. The chips go in our cars, they go in our computers, medical equipment, and they're even used in the weapons industry. So we're not just talking about our smartphones, our cars, computers. We're talking about even the weapons that we need to protect or defend ourselves as a country are being installed.
Well, let's also remember too, the kicker here. What makes those chips work? That material comes from Africa.
Well, let's say Ukraine has 50% of that supply.
Right, and but let's look at the math. The African countries that have the cobalt in the mountain, that they don't get the benefit of it.
No, they don't.
Who digs it out, and whoever is digging it out is benefiting from it, because they when they refine it, they bring it to where they, you know.
Absolutely.
So just imagine certain countries could benefit from that. They're not benefiting from it. So where the thing that makes that chip work, they're basically getting it for free, in a sense.
Yeah, well, most of the cobalt comes from the Congo, but there are also other African countries like Zambia. Cobalt is also found in Canada, Australia, and in Brazil. But what happened in the Congo was one of the funniest or dumbest things that I've ever seen. The Chinese went into the Congo and made a deal with some uneducated or greedy politician there, and they didn't sit down and write up a proper contract in terms of China extracting this cobalt. They look at it and say, "Oh, you want some stone out of a mountain? Go ahead. How much?" China said, "How much?" They said, "Okay, I cannot remember the exact amount, but
I think it's like 8% the country is getting."
Hold on. They turned on. They said 50 million. China sat right there and wrote the check. Here you go. They didn't say 50 million for 20 years and subject to increase after that. They just give them one price. And of course, within that 50 million, you know, they had to get their palm greased, whoever that politician and his cronies were. So they thought that they got some good deal out of China. China wrote the check on the spot and said, "Okay, 50 million, there you go. That's yours." And then the sad part about this is that the Chinese come in, they set up shop, bring in the machinery, and they bring their own labor force.
Laborers, yeah. Well,
they do not hire the people within the country.
Yes,
that should be part of the clause in that contract, that you have to have a certain percentage of local people employed within these companies. And somehow these uneducated, ignorant politicians did not do any such thing in the contract. So these outside companies like China and probably Ukraine, wherever they're getting theirs from, just sitting back like fat rats right now, while the countries are not really benefiting. That what you said just now, 8%, that's nonsense.
But well, I might probably go at another conspiracy theory. I mean, what you're saying is not conspiracy, but I will go to a conspiracy theory.
Oh, that's stupidity, not conspiracy.
Where right,
that's straight up stupidity.
Where it could be that's the story that we're given, and it could be that whether they had gotten arms or they had gotten some other resource And if they were supposed to do any sort of payback and couldn't pay back, then that would have been, you know, if you can't pay this back, well,
sell me a port.
We'll own this and go from there. I'm thinking it was probably more like that. That's just me. I could be wrong, but I think that it probably had more to do with some sort of a situation where the leader had to he got caught, basically, you know, and had to lean towards
sell out. Call it what it is.
You know?
I think what we see now is what I would call a stress test for China. Because if they could come out of the other end of this still shining and holding on to the number one spot for manufacturing and export, and if they somehow happen to buckle, then I think that would open up the doors for other economies to benefit from export and manufacturing. What would you say on that?
Put it this way, my brother. Put it this way. There was a certain island that had aspiring artists in the genre of reggae music. And it was doing so well that some mafias from where the reggae music is created went to that island and told them they had to break it down because they were messing with the people's food. Right? So we had to look at all the pieces that are playing in the global situation. You know, so for example, let's say America can kill you in grain. Like grain is one of the main things. Corn. I mean, everything. A lot of products say that they're using corn. If they have to create a deal where, okay, we're going to get corn from the Ukraine, then maybe there was some other deal in a contract, in a bill, in something where they had to put that as part of the deal.
You said Ukraine, but I know jokingly, but China is the number 2 producer of corn globally.
I'm just, you know, I'm not trying to be specific, but I'm just saying, you know, so when you say other markets open up, you know, then we start going into the whole James Bond. We start going into what you call those movies James Bond doing? What they call those movies?
007.
Yeah. What there's a term for them.
Oh.
Where
where they have to bring in spies and
yeah. What you call those types of movies?
Yeah.
There's a term we call them. But I remember the name just now. But my point is, that's real. That's a real component to a lot of what you see happening, you know. And there was a reason why in I think between the 80s and the 90s, you had a lot of leaders from Central America, between like just below between Mexico and Panama and these places down there. A lot of their leaders was flying in a plane and the plane was falling out of the sky, or people was just being assassinated.
Yeah, we've seen it happen before.
This wasn't happening by chance, because they saw what was happening. They're like, well, okay, I'm going to come into power and fix this. So you come in, you do your campaign, you win, you come into power, and somebody else on the outside say, well, hey, what happening? If you come into power here, either you play this way or you're going to wake up a different way. Because that's, you know, the way
that's
how
the law of the land, the law of the jungle.
So when you say open up something, open up over here, or something open up, that mind when it opens, it has to be real loud that they can't shut it down. So brethren, I just
but recently we are seeing a shakeup in other industries like automakers and battery manufacturers, some of who plan to establish more than a dozen new electric vehicle battery factories in the US within the next 5 years. Now, I don't think that these overseas manufacturers are simply going to pack up and disappear silently into the night. There will be a backlash somewhere, sometime. But how?
Well, the objective is they're gradually shifting, or should I say, some people are calling it a reset, but I'm saying it's an evolve. We're evolving to move away from petroleum. Petroleum, as an industry, has been the thing we've been using for like the last couple of centuries. We've been using petroleum. They are saying that it's bad for the environment, it's bad for the ozone layer. We need a healthier way to have energy created. And so we're looking at the electronic direction. Some people are looking at water. Some people are looking at, well, I mean, they're looking at all different directions of it. So what I'm thinking is the older companies may buy up the new industries, or maybe have some form of a share in the new direction and transition to the electronic systems. I mean, you go to any average mall right now, and if you have a Tesla car, you can actually park in one of the areas and plug your car in.
But do you think we'll begin to see more affordable prices on these goods, or we may end up seeing inferior products on the market, which in turn will have its own downside, like cheaper products tend to bring, stuff like overheating, shorter shelf life, more mishaps, fires in these vehicles? How do you think other companies coming into the market and competing, would that help or end up hindering the whole industry as a whole?
I think initially you're going to see the cost of almost everything going up for a certain period of time while they readjust and try to become more self-contained in this country. I was reading where Volkswagen and BM have closed several of their assembly lines in Germany because they're not getting certain pieces which are manufactured in what they call wiring harnesses, which are manufactured in Ukraine. Companies like Michelin, they have announced closures of plants all over Europe because they're not able to get their parts that are supplied in Ukraine because Russia has blocked, the ports.
So is this why Ukraine is the good guy in this war?
I don't know about good guy. I don't know about this good guy thing. I don't know where that came from. We're just talking about how we are so interdependent, and to a level that I don't think most people knew. I know I didn't know the level to which these countries are contributing on a global scale.
Yeah, but that's what I said. Everybody, since this thing started, everybody started talking, pray for Ukraine. Ukraine, oh, big bad Russia, the big bad guy. We need to punish Russia. We need to this, we need to that. And as I stated before, no one knew, not no one, but the average Joe on the street, if you take the names off of the map and you say, show me Ukraine, he don't know where to point to tell you where Ukraine was.
I think it's near
somewhere.
I think they have a relationship with Russia. They're the ones who belong to it.
They had no idea. They had no idea where to find Ukraine on a map. Right. So I'm saying because of the importance of the things that we're discussing right now, like the grain and all of these other products, which we didn't know before, but of course, Washington knew this, right? The powers that be knew this. Could this be why Russia is the good guy in Ukraine is the good guy in the war? Regardless of whatever else they may be doing that made Russia declare war on them. They had to have been doing something wrong. You can't just tell me you sitting back here minding your own business and Russia just decide to come and stomp on your neck. No, we the big bad guys. No, you need to punish. You tell me Ukraine had no hand in anything that was going on.
Well, Russia, based on what Russia and its history, I would say that they didn't necessarily need to do much to draw Russia's wrath, based on who the leader is. a very racist person. Based on that alone, and the multi-ethnic groups that are sort of they're working together
Come on.
in
No, we
Ukraine.
draw that racism word on Russia. I am not saying that they are not, but I have not read throughout the course of history or even within recent times anything where Russia has been guilty of racism on any mass scale.
Really?
I see it pop up in Ukraine. We have refugees trying to get out, and they said, no, black people off the bus, bring on the Ukrainians. Bring on the white folks, black people off the bus. No, back of the line. I've seen that in Ukraine, and trust me, I knew nothing about Ukraine before this. But as far as
explanation, so let me just throw this in before. I know we might veer the conversation a little bit. The explanation that was given, one of the explanations that was given, is that if the Ukraine joins the UN, there's a certain what's the word I'm saying? Oh, I'm looking for here. When I'm sleepy, I don't remember these words too well. But it will give the UN a more clause, especially the resources that the Ukraine has. So in a sense, once they join the UN, it could be disastrous for Russia.
Disastrous, you mean?
So disastrous. I was trying to create a new word, but yes, disastrous for you know how we do in the Caribbean. Caribbean feedback. It'd be rough. Now that's the explanation that was given, or one of the explanations where that is the issue. But we also have to remember there was something called the Soviet Union at one point, and under the Soviet Union, Ukraine was part of that.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So it was.
Reagan took care of that back in the 80s.
So now that the Soviet Union was broken up, now you have the Croatias and all the different other places, but these were things that were benefiting the overall the overall what do you call it, the united aspect of it with the Union. So they all had their different resources that will benefit everyone. Now it's okay, this one is over here, that one is over there. So if you're Russia, you might be looking at it a little differently, and of course they get intel that we don't. We just see bombs starting to fly. but what is the underlining conversation? What is that thing? And if Russia can't get their way with Ukraine staying out of the Union, the UN, well, we're gonna have to hit you with some bombs. Maybe that's how they're looking at it.
But Karin, you touched on this earlier. Which other products or absence of our products can we expect to see as a result of this war?
Well, Ukraine, as we stated before, as far as the wheat, corn, barley, certain fertilizers, which we know we need for our agricultural system here in the U.S.
With all these
sunflower oil and barley and millet are big, huge staples on the continent of Africa, many countries. And those are things that we're going to see huge shortages of if this is not resolved in the very near future.
Well, I remember the days when I would see the old people making coconut oil. And you ever eat food cooked with coconut oil?
Yes, indeed.
It tastes nice, eh? We might have to go back to them days.
But to sidetrack, I'm not going off topic here, but I just want to mention this to you, Sam, and for any other Trinis listening. I was looking at a movie on Netflix early on in the week here, and the woman brought a pot of food for the neighbor, for the person that she was visiting, and he said, "What did you bring?" She said, "Pilau." And of course, I heard it and I glued to the screen and I said, okay, let me see what this pilau look like. Then open the pot. It took some 20 minutes later when some hungry kids in the neighborhood came by and to the same old man looking for some food. And then he said, look in the pot. I have some pilau. And when they opened up the pot, what do you think was in the pot, bro?
Well, rice and peas.
Pilau. Okay, so we use this word in Trinidad. And for the first time, I would say its origin. And this was a Kenyan movie. Not Nigerian movie, a Kenyan movie. And they cook pilau, and it looked very much like the pilau.
Like the pilau from Trinidad.
That we cook in Trinidad and we eat. So that's just a side note. So I just wanted to bring that up. I know Karin felt left out of that, but we don't care. We don't care. Drink water and mind your business. That has nothing to do with you.
I'm fine. Thank you so much for your consideration.
But yeah, at the beginning of the pandemic, we saw increased demands for certain medical supplies like masks, ventilators. We saw what I call panic purchasing. We saw people hoarding and misusing what were deemed as emergency supplies like hand sanitizers, rubbing alcohol, thus putting lives at risk from COVID and other infectious diseases. Karin, how can we as regular citizens better prepare for a catastrophe, if you will, instead of waiting for the 11th hour when the alarm is sounded to get ready?
Medically ready or just overall?
Medically, and let Sam talk about it. Oh, you talk about it, then let Sam join in with the overall ready.
As far as medically necessary, if we learn to just wash our damn hands every time we touch surfaces, whenever we can, get to the water and the soap, it's better than any sanitizer any day of the week. And any medical professional will tell you that. There is no substitution for washing your hands for 2 minutes with soap and some warm water. You can have some rubbing alcohol, some peroxide, sitting around, just in case, some bleach to disinfect surfaces if you can't get other supposed name brand disinfectants. But the bleach works, really. It kills almost every damn thing. You let that bleach sit on anything, it will tear right through it. And just the basics, you a couple of little band-aids here and there, but this massive drive for masks, cloth masks with, a little filter inside it, you're good to go. Wash them. They can be washed and should be washed. Wash your cloth mask with warm soap and water. That's okay. You don't have to keep on buying the disposables and just throwing them away every week. Doesn't make sense. Water, having some water supply, having some beans, having some rice and some other staple products in your pantry at all times. This will certainly save you the mad rush to the supermarket and the other distribution centers like those, So some basic food products in keeping that in supply is a good thing, And water, yes, we can bottle. You can, if you feel your drinking water out of the tap is good, bottle it, put some away. Don't wait until that week that they're saying, hey, we're going to shut down again. And everybody starts stomping over everybody else,
Over toilet paper. Over toilet paper.
Toilet paper, oh yeah, definitely. As I said, staple products. Your toilet paper, your water, your beans, canned and otherwise, things like that. Yeah, and rice, of course. Some pastas. Put some pastas, stick them up in that pantry. You don't need them right away. Hey, you're good to go. They'll last for a couple of years. If we didn't even think the first time that this thing could last 3 years. Who had that thought behind it?
I thought it was like a little 2 week vibes.
I knew better, and I was sounding the alarm the minute I heard about this coronavirus in Wuhan, and the way they made it sound on the news, like Wuhan was this little village somewhere in China, And I did my own research and realized that no, Wuhan, you're talking about Manhattan. So the way they made this thing sound like some little, and you know, you're going from the China, you know, from the movies and stuff. So you figure it's a little remote village somewhere in the back of the bush, somewhere. And then when I did my research, I said, Wuhan ain't no little place. And they talking about they locking off roads and stuff like that. I start telling the people on my job, I said, this thing coming. The coronavirus, they said, oh, come, wait a minute, that thing that happened
over there. So, man.
That thing, I said, come in.
That over so.
And the brethren who used to work in the spray department doing refinishing, I tell him, I say, yo, order some masks. He said, yeah, I'm gonna get to. I said, order some masks. Let the guy go pick them up from Home Depot. He said, yeah, I'm gonna do that. I came back to him 3 days later. He said, I'm gonna do it before the day done. The next morning, he said, boy, you know, I passed in Home Depot this morning, you know, they are no masks. I said, I've been telling you for a week now. Right? Then everybody, now the people started to get concerned. Then before you know it, you hear about one case in California. I said, reach, it coming to your doorstep just now. Before you know it, the company closed down. Before you know it, the boss man passed away. That was it. Just like that, company gone. No more employment. Everybody had to pack up and go home because somehow, the way I put it, we got caught with our pants down. What I did at that point in time, I started shopping. I started putting together these staple items, like Karin like to call them, and stocked up my pantry. So when the people were out there, like when I pass outside and I see the line outside the supermarket with people lining up with empty shopping carts, 6 feet apart to get into the supermarket, I was passing by and smiling because I did my shopping weeks before.
But you know how we always talk about how we're lulled to sleep by certain things, certain luxuries, if you want to call it, or comfort items that we've always had in this country. We've been lulled for years. There are people up north. We live in the South. Well, Curtis and I, we live in the South. So 6 months of the year is rainy season. And you don't know, between June 1st to November 30th officially, it could happen 2 days before the official end of the season that a massive hurricane passes through and puts us on our behinds, basically. But I remember when hurricane, I think it was called Sandy, moved along the coast and moved up north and affected New Jersey and so forth. They weren't prepared. We were like, let's talk to these people and let them know what they need to stock up on. Because if you've never gone through certain things, generationally, this pandemic, we've dealt with other pandemics in this country and worldwide before. But if you've 1 or 2 generations have never seen anything like this, you don't know what to do. And yes, World Health and a couple of other organizations like CDC, they were out there, but they were using so many scare tactics rather than tell people how to really protect themselves in their homes. And if they have to go out, what to do. You know, they weren't prepared because there was no education before that. They waited until this thing was literally, as you said, knocking on your doorstep, knocking on your door before they were like, uh-oh. And that's what creates all this incredible panic, worldwide panic. And a lot of places, they don't have access to half, a third. They don't have access to what we have access to in this country. So what were they supposed to do? And we as the tourists, foreigners from North America and Europe and all, we're the ones that take a lot of things to these countries. But we want to look at them like, oh, they can't handle it. They can't handle it. You brought it in.
So let's talk for a minute about independence. Being prepared, or what I like to call self-sufficiency. Are there any crops or products that we can make for ourselves around the home, especially in the Caribbean, to help us overcome some of these shortages that may arise as a result of war or any global crisis as a whole? I'm a big supporter of grills.
Of what?
Grills. Having a grill outside. Okay. Not only is it a healthier way to cook most meals, but it's a bit more economic way to prepare food in times of crisis. Like after a hurricane, as you stated, or a blackout, or some unforeseen disaster. It to me, it's just a cheaper way in tough economic times. The question is, how can we be better prepared, be more self-sufficient?
Go back to the basics, I think. It's strange that I think up to 2 or 3 days ago, I was on YouTube looking at gardening. I love to garden. I've done certain things like scallion, but I was literally looking at the different things that you can like in a small area, small space that you can actually grow. Like garlic and ginger and pepper and things like that. Thyme and cilantro, stuff like that. But as far as if you have a big space, outdoor space, I would say like corn and things like that. Easy to grow.
You telling me now to go plant corn where Ukraine come?
Not you. Not you.
Okay.
If you're, I've seen
plant a little bit of corn, brethren.
If you have outdoor space, you can do certain larger things like corn, and you can do your potatoes and your yams and stuff like that, and those things can be frozen. You know what I'm saying? You can freeze a lot of those items for months.
What if they take the power now?
Well, if they take the power, then you start to get shake. But you can have a storage unit, a battery-operated storage unit, and they are available through Home Depot, Lowe's, Sears. All those places will carry small to large storage, battery-operated storage units.
Well, I would just throw in a suggestion. Now, there's some products for certain disastrous times. You can just, if you stock up on some of those, you just have to add water, and you have a meal. One of them would be something like that. You guys heard about those?
I was in the military. We did get this in smaller packages.
Yeah.
Ready to eat.
Yeah, somebody add water and warm up.
Now this is a little bit kind of grandiose, but these are things that you can purchase, and it has a very long shelf life.
Mm-hmm.
So you every now and then you buy one and you put it in your pantry, and it sit there just in case you have maybe you had a stain for 2 weeks. I think one of those things it lasts for 30 days. So it's as you get out of a packet, you add water to it, and you're fully belly for that day, and you keep it moving. If you like variety, then make sure you have some variety as you purchase as you go. But this is not by itself. I like the fact that Karin spoke about going back to the basics, planting food and using the basics, washing your hand, using soaps. Just getting back to the basics. I spoke about making the coconut oil. I guess for Curtis, you're gonna have a fish farm. Because
I've seen how the public, I've seen how individuals, we as humans, can become very inhumane. I see how we turn on each other. Simple things like this Black Friday sale. I see how people behave for a TV that you don't yet own. How they fight, how they trample each other for something that you want that is not even a need. I see how people turn on each other in times of need, and I see how we become more humane in times of need. But the mistake we don't want to make people is somehow thinking that these situations on the other side of the world cannot and will not affect us here. And I say here, wherever else you may be. Don't ever be lulled to sleep, as I stated in the beginning, and think that somehow it has nothing to do with you. We always have to be in a state of preparedness at all times. So we're not saying that in your backyard you can plant a garden that's going to make you survive for 5 years. No, it's not. It may make you survive for another week or two. Or add something to what you may already have in your pantry. By having your little backyard garden, by having your little whatever you can grow on your porch, or whatever else it may be, or if you happen to be in the sunny states, whatever you have outside. So that is something I think that we all need to look into as individuals. And so what if you plant a fruit tree and nothing happens? Then you have mangoes to eat.
If you plant the fruit tree?
Yeah, you have mangoes to eat. You have mangoes to share with your neighbors.
Yeah, but is this tree you're planting breaking any laws?
No. No, I'm just saying in the southern states, a lot of people, we see what we don't realize every time you take for granted and you stand up under a tree for shelter from the rain or from the sun, that's because somebody planted that tree 10, 20 years before, that you now benefiting from it today.
Mm-hmm.
So if you plant an avocado tree in your backyard and you live in South Florida and you plant it there, you may end up selling the house and moving before you have a chance to taste an avocado. But somebody else will come along and benefit from that. So don't just be selfish and think, well, no, I ain't going to get to eat these fruits. I'm not going to. No. In order for you to eat today, somebody thought about your behind years before and planted a tree, planted some kind of crop that you're benefiting from. So we have to stay.
Plant wheat because Carol say flour to make bread and doubles. So make sure you plant some wheat. You know to after you plant the wheat, you know to make it into flour and thing. You know.
I have old-fashioned rock and ground down that thing, man. Then dust it out. What do you mean?
I have absolutely no idea where.
What? Grandma never taught you that, Curtis?
No, no idea where to begin. But what I was trying to close.
Flour?
Yeah, I eat flour. I don't know how to make it. I have no idea how to make it. None. I don't know where to begin. So I'll be one of those that will be stocking up on flour as opposed to trying to make flour myself. So, but what I see Sam start yawning already. We're not going to stretch it out too much.
No, that wasn't a yawn. That was a yeah.
You're just reaching for some oxygen. No, okay.
Yeah,
I understand. But
I needed to stretch a little bit.
We talk about philanthropic efforts and a lot of these things in some of these times. A lot of people, we donate clothes, we donate old furniture to various organizations, thinking that they're somehow making a valuable contributions to humanity on a global level because this organization name whatever, and we say, well, we're going to donate to them. What we don't realize, a lot of these organizations are businesses.
For profit
Businesses. And they may put out some bulletin and state that they give $1 million to global hunger. But that $1 million is like a penny out of 100,000. So to you and I, they give $1 million. Wow, that's really good.
People need to read the fine print on these.
It may be $1 out of 100. It may be a penny out of $100,000, and we think that they're doing something. So, in closing, I just want to ask this question: are any of these organizations that we support reputable? And if not, can any of you provide any information or any organizations that are really helping people on a global scale that we can look more into or that we can support? Because since we on this other side of the world and we think it has nothing to do with us or we can't help out, if you're into helping organizations, are there any organizations that you think are reputable based on their history, based on their track record, that we can donate to and that are really helping people nationally and internationally?
I think one company to look at is Salvation Army. If you're familiar with them, they have a system that they work, but that's just one of the many different ones. I didn't mean to cut you, Karin. You were saying something.
That's okay.
Why so? Why Salvation Army though?
Well, I lived around the corner when I used to live in Brooklyn on Fort Greene. There were two buildings I was aware of. There was a building on Hanson Place itself, close to South Elliott. That was a Salvation Army building where they would house the homeless. or if you're in some sort of a situation, that you needed a place to be and you needed resources, they would provide that. And then down on Ashland, no, not Ashland Place, I forgot the other street there, around by the Williamsburg Bank there, when you hit the corner. But you're not going on Flatbush. You're going down like you're going towards BAM. You're going towards Brooklyn Academy of Music there. They had a church there. I actually rented the church a few times.
But Salvation Army is in fact a church, right?
It's an organization that has
Salvation Army is a church. That church happened to do charitable organization. They have a charitable organization that they do charity work.
I'm talking
about Salvation Army is in fact a Protestant church.
Oh, okay, sir.
Okay, just informing you that.
I was just saying that in addition to knowing what they were doing around the corner from me, they also had a church as well. And I actually rented the church to do some events over time. So while I would be there, sometimes I will see the community activities that they would have going on. So they had a very good, at the time, I don't know what it is now, but at the time they had a very good system in the community. The church that I grew up in, they also had something called the Dorcas Ministries. And there you can get perishable items that they will give out to the community as well. They call it the welfare department in some churches. So although yes, you have the church, but they also had that side of things where you can get food products, so the stuff that they pull off the shelf. We think, oh, okay, so our friend Diane. Good night, Diane, how are you doing? Adra is another one. I didn't know it. I didn't have all of that, but okay, thank you. Well, some situations they sort of have it hand in hand, where you have the religious side to it, and then they have the side of where they do charitable efforts. But I will say when I dealt with the Salvation Army, it felt more like I was dealing with an army opposed to a church, because the guy that I would rent the place from, his title wasn't pastor, it was captain.
Wow. Another organization out there that some of us may donate to and think that we're doing something charitable is this one called Goodwill Industries. And they may tend to market themselves as non-profit, but Goodwill is actually a for-profit organization. They sell, people give them free goods and they sell it at a profit. And they hold this thing around that they market as a charity organization, and they do charitable work, but they give less than 1/8 of their profit goes towards charitable work. Let's just look back a few years ago. Their CEO earned $598,000 plus for the year.
We're in the wrong business.
Over $500,000 in one employee, the CEO, earned in a year. But yet still, they have that 501c, whatever it is, thing like a church, which means, I think, 501c, which means that they probably don't pay taxes. I'm guessing, I'm not quite sure on this. They probably have the same rate rankings as a church because they said that they're non-profit. But yet still, like I said, you have an employee inside of there earning over $500,000 per year for selling free goods and opening up more outlets across the world to sell stuff that was actually donated. So in my opinion, it's a damn good hustle. It's a good hustle they're doing. But we just need to be careful when some of these organizations come up and we say, okay, this is thing. Well, I would say for me personally, I have received help in times of crisis from American Red Cross. I remember back in 2013, there was a fire in my building and we got displaced very same night, and the Red Cross put us up in hotels for that particular night and a few days that followed that particular.
I remember that.
Yeah, catastrophe. So I know for a fact that the American Red Cross does in fact do charitable work, because I have benefited from them. I know they do blood work where they go around and they collect blood and stuff from people. So that's something I know that they do. So I haven't in fact donated to the Red Cross. It's not something I do on a regular basis, but I have in fact donated to them. And we also have we have the United Way, we have Volunteers of America, we have Habitat for Humanity, another organization that's big here in South Florida. So we have several others that are in fact doing work. So what I urge the public to do is to research any of these organizations first and foremost, before you take up your check and think that you're doing some charitable work or you're giving tithes or whatever it is you're doing. Research these organizations, see how far and how wide they actually reach. And if they are not servicing needs that you think should be serviced, then by all means, go elsewhere and put your dollars elsewhere and help. Because if you sit back and believe that what's happening on the other side of the world has nothing to do with you, just based on some of the things we said tonight, you're sadly mistaken. And I hope that we don't wait until situations come knocking at our doors before we respond, and then all of a sudden think that, oh, well, yeah, it has something to do with me, and now I'm trying to help. So, I didn't see, Lucy said she have breadfruit, 5 fingers, and avocado. Girl, you could eat for months. Breadfruit and some avocado. Oh gosh, you have several ways to prepare that breadfruit. With some avocado, 5 fingers, you could make juice. You could eat for a long time based off of those 3 trees that you mentioned. I almost said 3 trees. Karin would have said 9. No, the 3 trees that you mentioned, not the 3 trees like we go say in Trini. I know Miss Linguist over there would have correct me, so I didn't want to misspeak.
You didn't want to get caught up.
Yeah, caught up into that. So
I feel it.
So Karin, any closing comments?
Yeah.
Take me home.
I just think that something that you just stated, I'll restate, that people need to research any company that you want to donate money or goods or services to. They have charters, and that's public. Check if they're actually not for profit or for profit. Check what it will state. What percentage of the funds you donate goes to administrative costs versus what goes to the actual people or whatever they're providing services to. You can see all of that up front. Just go on their website. That has to be stated. That's legal, at least by law in this country. Don't just take it for granted that they say they're not for profit, as both gentlemen have stated before, and think, oh, well, if I donate $2,000, the people that I'm donating to, the group, they're seeing the $2,000. No, they might see like 75, and the rest of it is administrative costs based on that particular company. So do your due diligence and do your research. I love companies like not Red Cross, excuse me, Peace Corps and Doctors Without Borders. That's just my personal preference. There's a children's group that I'm trying to think of the name right now. It escapes me. But there are some companies that are on the ground all the time, working with the population that they say they're working for, and are transparent with how they divide up any money that they get. And that's the company that you need to deal with. That's it.
Mr. Archer.
Yeah, what happened?
Take us home.
Yeah. Oh, espionage was the word I was trying to remember before. But yeah, this is a topic that it could be one that slip you by, We talk about it and you just say, I'll go get it next week, I'll get it next week. I'll get it next week. So make your next week today and work on things, plan, prepare, save, store with food and your data. But you want to eat if you're going to be in the house in long periods. And okay, I see a quick point there from Diane. Good night, Diane, and she says you can always donate to the embassy of any country during a disaster. All right, point taken there. And that's pretty much what I have to say tonight. All right, so on to you, Soldier.
Yeah, one thing we forget to mention earlier on, no, I don't think anybody brought it up. Forgive me if you did. Solar panels. To get off of the grid. Solar panels in times of emergency. How many of us even know that there are solar panels as small as the size of your cell phone that you can in fact use to charge your cell phone in the event of a catastrophe or some kind of disaster?
I didn't know.
Yeah, having a small solar panel like that where you can use the regular how you call the cord?
A charger cord?
Yeah, the regular cord.
USB.
The regular USB cord.
USB.
Where you can use a USB cord from the solar charger to your telephone, or to even power a musical instrument or whatever it might be, a speaker, radio, whatever it might be. So, and it's something that you can use after the storm because generally the sun comes out. So you can walk with this solar panel, solar charger, and use it to stay in touch. So that's one item that I think people should, in fact, get and keep handy. Your personal solar panel. The question was raised, how can we help? How can I help? We spoke about donating. We spoke about donating to charitable organizations. I remember in 2005, after Hurricane Wilma, I saw a family standing over a grill with chicken on there and charcoal in the grill, and no one knew how to start a fire. This may sound funny. The gentleman and the lady in the house did not know how to start a fire. Why? They had no lighter fluid. They had matches, they had charcoal, they had food on a grill, and they're standing there lost.
No lighter fluid.
No lighter fluid to light the charcoal. And the children hungry.
Oh, Lord.
I had to step in. I asked the gentleman or the lady, one of them, I said, if you have a phone book. Oh, what? A phone book? Who the hell are we going to call to help us do this? Do you have a phone book? Yeah, but how is that going to help? Do you have a phone book? Yes. Give me the phone book. You sure you don't need it, right? Give me the phone book. Ripped out some pages. Crumble them up, put them in between the charcoal, light the paper. We got a fire.
Yay!
The fire thing up so high, they decided, wait a minute. Why are we looking to grill one little pack of chicken? They put on a pot of water and they started cooking rice. They started cooking everything because we had a fire. I got some wood from outside from a nearby tree and I put it, we had a big bonfire, and all of a sudden a pot was cooking, something that they never experienced because some of us, that's all we knew in the Caribbean growing up. Wood fire outside. And that's what I created for them. And all of a sudden they went beyond grilling a few pieces of chicken to cooking an entire pot and pots of food. So sometimes just learning some survival skills are extremely important. Some of the things that, like I just mentioned, that you and I may take for granted, Sam, a lot of people don't know how to do that. Karin, I know you were speaking recently about a show you looked at. What was it? Alone? Something where some survivalists were in the jungle?
Right.
And one guy happened to outlast everybody. Why?
He built a boat so he could fish throughout the entire time.
While everybody else stood on the edge of the lake for days and couldn't catch a fish, hungry.
Starving to death.
My boy made a
70%
boat.
of their body weight.
My boy made a boat and went out into the lake and was able to fish. Another guy survived. Why? Because he was able to, what did he kill?
Kill a deer or something like
He
that.
killed a deer, which for days he was able to eat, weeks, off of one kill.
Mm-hmm.
And others were starving to death because they couldn't even catch a rabbit. Survival skills we need to learn, people. Some of these things, we have what we call today the University of YouTube. Be prepared, people. The very same way this pandemic caught us with our pants down, caught a lot of you all with your pants down. We have no idea what is waiting around the corner. We have no idea what is to come.
Mm-hmm.
Do not get caught with your pants down. Do not get caught unprepared where you're thinking, how am I going to survive? What am I going to eat? This Lucy O'Brien says she made a fireside from two car rims. We have to find ways to be creative in this day and age when it comes to the safety and security of yourself as an individual or for that of your family. Do not wait until these situations come knocking on your door before you start to think, what am I going to do? I have all of this meat in my freezer and it's spoiling. I don't know how to save it. I don't know what to do. What am I going to cook? How am I going to start a fire? Oh, my cell phone, we have no electricity. My cell phone dead. What? Be prepared, people. Be prepared. It is better to be prepared for an opportunity and not have one than to have an opportunity or a crisis and not be prepared. Don't get caught with your pants down, people. And I'm not going to go into it again, but learn how to help, not hoard, not go out there and buy 52 crates of toilet paper. That's a lot of shit you intend to do during that crisis and leave your neighbor with nothing but newspaper. We have to share. We have to share resources. We have to help each other. That's the only way we're going to survive as a species. The only way we're going to survive on this planet is by helping each other survive. We're not in this fight. We're not in this race alone. Help your neighbor. Help your friend. If a fire starts on your neighbor's house, even though you and him ain't talking, you better grab your hose and help him to put it out. Throw a bucket of water, because when that fire leaves his house, guess where it's coming?
That's what's up.
Right across to yours. Work together, people. Love your neighbor. Learn to live together as human beings. Peace and blessings.
Bless.
Hi, I'm Dr. Judith Barnes. I'm an author, a playwright, poet. I'm also a broadcaster by training. And I recently found out about 2 years ago that I can paint paintings, which means I paint sceneries, I paint landscape, I paint animals. I have just discovered, and so that I can do this. And so along with all the other gifts and talents that I've been blessed with, I have paintings, and they are on view and for sale on Etsy and also on Facebook. And if you desire to order any painting or order one of my books, because I'm also an author, please give me a call at 470-564-8267. That's Dr.
Hello there and welcome. My name is Curtis Henry. Over the past few weeks, as we were putting the final pieces together to get the show on the road, some people asked, why do you need to showcase Caribbean people? Why Caribbean Chatt? And I say, why not? Because we as Caribbean people have worked too hard, come too far, and suffered too long for us to continue taking a backseat. It's time for us to rise up, speak out, and show the world the value and the richness of our culture. So I'm providing a platform to showcase the history and culture of Caribbean people in entertainment, the arts, politics, sports, and economics. We will explore the many profound contributions they have made to society. So we invite you to stay with us as we launch what is to become one of the greatest voices of Caribbean people, for Caribbean people, by Caribbean people. On this platform, Caribbean people of excellence get to tell their story. Our aim is to ensure that your contributions are acknowledged and celebrated. Welcome to Caribbean Chatt. So make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and be sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube. We are Caribbean Chatt.
showtime. Hi, we are the Henry Boys. I'm Joshua.
I'm Daniel. And I'm Simone.
We're inviting you to read a copy of our father's book, Tiny Little Spider and Nursery Rhyme.
Hey, what do you mean a father's book? This is my book. I'm on the cover. Me, Imani. But let's not forget our sister Imani started writing this book.
And our dad finished it. So get a copy.
For yourself or for your child.
Tiny Little Spider, a nursery rhyme by Curtis B. Henry and Imani Smith. Now available on Amazon.com.
With me, Imani.